What's up everyone, welcome back to the shop. Today we're going to do a button tutorial on the Humminbird Helix. In this video we're going to break down all the different buttons that you can do anywhere from beginner all the way to advanced, and different things that you can do with your Humminbird Helix. So hopefully everybody will learn a little bit of something from this video. Starting out, we'll just talk about the Helix. This is a Helix 10. I have a Helix 12 up front, but unlike the Solix was a touchscreen. This one is not a touchscreen. So all your buttons are right here on the side, and that's how we control everything. And you'll notice this Helix actually has 3 favorite settings. And those are on all Helixes from Helix 8 all the way up to 12. So if you have one smaller than a Helix 8, I don't think it'll have these favorite settings on there. We'll just kind of go through all the buttons, and then some of the more advanced buttons we'll talk about later on in the video. If you basically press view, it'll go through all of the views that you possibly have. If you would happen to go a little bit too fast, what you can do is you can press the exit button here and it'll take you backwards. So basically the view button will scroll you through all your views forward, the exit button will scroll you through all your views backwards. So if you press menu once, it'll actually take you to what they call the X menu, and that is your settings that you control for the current view that you're using. So right now we're on the 2D, and this setting here will control, or this menu here has the settings for that view in particular. If you go to your chart screen, your menu will be different because it will be controlling that view. If you press menu twice, it will bring you up to the main menu. So in the main menu, it'll have tabs across the top, and it'll have all these different tabs that you can go into with settings in each one of them. What I like to start out doing is I go to the setup tab and I go to user mode, and a lot of times it'll start in the Angler user mode, and you'll notice that whenever it's in Angler you don't have nearly as many of the settings that you can adjust. So when you put it into custom, you can customize it a lot better, and you can adjust basically any of the settings. So that's what I'll do. I'll go into setup tab, I'll change the user mode to custom, and then you can kind of play around with all these other little tabs, but basically you'll want to make sure that you're at the top of the menu, because if you're not and you press over or left or right, what it'll do is it'll adjust whatever that setting is. So for example, right now I'm on this digital readouts, and you can change it from overlay, or you can change it from boxes. You can edit these boxes, so you can come here and you can hide these boxes, that box, or you can make it the depth box. You can go in here, and right now I'm editing data box 1, so that's this first one. And then I can go down, edit data box 2. I can either hide it, or I can select time, change it to whatever I want. If you press the right button, it'll change it to time, or to the date. So if you press the right button, you're selecting whatever that is. So you'll notice here it's date. I'm going to change it from date to time. It'll change it to time. So that pressing over to the right is what allows it to select that. However, if you have your screen on the overlays, you can't edit this. It'll change based off of what screen you're on, but it won't let you customize it like it will with the boxes. So I like to leave it on the boxes. I can customize that a lot better with the boxes because the overlays won't let me customize it. Going back to the main view, you'll notice this little yellow arrow up here, and that's basically showing you which screen is the active pane. Earlier we had 2 screens, or we had 1 screen up, but now if we have split screen between chart and sonar, this will be our active pane. So if I press menu once, it'll bring me to the X menu, which will be on that active pane. So you'll notice the yellow box around it. If I want to change that, I can go up to this first setting and I can click to the left and it'll change it to the left. Or I can click to the right and it'll change it to the right. I can also adjust the size of this screen here. So if I want just a sliver of it to be chart, I can push it all the way to the right. Or if I want it 50%, I can do 50%. You can do all of your chart settings. As you can see, if you turn your active pane over to the left, your settings will change, and that'll be your 2D settings. So these will allow you to change sensitivity, range, stuff like that. That's really important to know, is that little bitty arrow up there is it's what's showing you your active pane over here. If I want to set a favorite setting on one of these preset buttons, what I'll do is basically go to the view that I want and I'll just press and hold it. So I'll go here and I'll say I want it to be this top button. I'll press and hold it and it'll say shortcut saved. So now if I go press these buttons here, it'll take me to all the different views. And if I press this top one, it'll go to that one that I just saved. I really like to save the views that I'm going to use the most on these presets because it saves me a lot of time rather than having to go back and forth through them. So another thing that's good to know is, in order to get to the power menu, if you press this power button one time, if you press and hold it, it'll turn the graph off. But if you press it one time, just real quick, it'll take you to this power menu where you can turn your sonar on and off. You can adjust the brightness of your screen. You can turn it on night mode, or you can put your graph into standby. And when you put your graph into standby, in order to get it back on, you just press this power button once, it'll pop back on. So that'll save you a lot of batteries if you run up to the front of the boat and you're fishing, or it'll save from interference with your front graphs. So a lot of times whenever I go to the front of the boat and I'm fishing, I'll turn both of these graphs on standby. So speaking of views, if I press menu twice and I go to my main menu, one of the things I like to do in order to save a little bit of time is, there's a lot of these views that I don't use. And so to save time, I will hide some of these. Where it says hidden versus visible, all the visible ones are the ones that are going to show up whenever I go through it with the exit and the view buttons. But the hidden ones are ones that I'm never going to use. I don't have to click through as many views. So if I select the ones that I think I'll use and I hide the ones that I'm never going to use, then it'll allow me to not have to flip through as many views, obviously. If you go over to the far right, it allows you to see your network and see which transducer the 2D's on. 360 I don't have hooked up right now. It'll allow you to see if your graph is connected to the internal GPS, or if you have an external GPS, it'll allow you to change it there. If you're wanting to share waypoints with your other graphs, it's important to know that you have to have this share waypoints on. I think if you restore defaults, it automatically changes that to off, because there's been a couple times where it didn't work for me and I realized that was turned off, and it's an easy fix. You just got to go in there to your network and check and make sure that it's share waypoints is on. Another cool little thing that I like to do is, on my nav data, I like to go into waypoint settings and set my new waypoint icon to select. So if I had it as default, every time I'd make a waypoint, it would make it this blue circle, which is fine, but I like my waypoints to be more customized and allow me to set it at whatever I want so that I know exactly what it is. If it's a stump, I mark it as a stump. If it's a brush pile, I mark it as a brush pile, and vice versa. So what that'll do is, whenever I go to make a waypoint, and it may not let me make a waypoint because I'm in the garage, but if I was going to make a waypoint, it'll pop up a screen and it'll allow me to press over and select the icon that I want. So basically it'll allow me to do this and select that whichever icon I want, but that, like, a little screen will pop up before that rather than just automatically saving a blue dot. Another thing that I do is I turn my waypoint decluttering off. So what waypoint decluttering does is it basically will take like clusters of waypoints. If you have 5 waypoints on one little point, it'll kind of combine them into one. And a lot of times a lot of times if you're running down the lake, sometimes you'll miss a waypoint. I want to be able to see all my waypoints, where they're at while I'm running down the lake, and I don't have to worry about any of them being hidden because they're clustered together with another group. So what I'll do is I'll turn that waypoint decluttering off, and it allows me to be able to see all my waypoints. The only downside is if you're zoomed out, it'll have all the waypoints on a lake, and it kind of just gets really cluttered. But I prefer to not have them grouped together, so I'll put that decluttering off. And finally, another way that allows you to do a little bit of extra stuff is if you press and hold the view button, it'll pull up a views menu. And what you do there is it'll have sonar, chart, system, and if you go to sonar, it'll allow you to select any of these views that you want, and when you click on it, it'll go to that view. So I'm going to press and hold view again and go chart, and we'll go chart view, and we're back to the chart view. So that is a quick way to get to a specific view that you want, and really handy. But if I go to system, you can do things like GPS diagnostics. You can go to accessory test, so you can see if your GPS is connected. Right now it's not because I don't have a external GPS. I don't have my 360. So if you have any of this stuff, it will say that it's connected. So if you're having issues with one of your accessories that you have hooked up to here, you can go on here and you can see if it's unconnected or connected, and it's a great way to figure out whether you just have a wire unconnected or something like that. That's a good way to kind of troubleshoot the system. Obviously you can see my phone is connected on there too. You can go to snapshot and recording view, system status. So it'll do like a self-test. It'll tell you the voltage, tell you what software version you're on, and base map. And it'll also tell you how many hours you have on your graph. So those are just a few buttons that I use on my Humminbird, and how I get from place to place with views and any of my waypoints that I'm doing, and kind of how I run my Helix on a day-to-day basis. So hopefully those tips helped you guys out. Hopefully everybody learned a little bit of something. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.